Let me explain. So since my last video about the DJI FPV, where I decided to yeet my brand new drone off a windy cliff after having just first learnt how to fly FPV drones, I've been out for 3 separate occasions to practice FPV flying. Also, since that video, I haven't even opened up the simulator at all to practice FPV, which is terrible, I know. I really should be putting in time to practice, but I've just had so much client work recently, and all my spare time has also been dedicated to trying to clear out the seemingly never-ending backlog of games that I want to play. And by the way, I started a brand new Twitch channel, twitch.tv/HeyPatK. So if you want to come and hang out with me live while I play games, check out the link in the description below and come and hang out. But what I've done instead is over the last 3 occasions that I've been out, I've burnt about 7 batteries worth of FPV flying experience, and I've documented every single one of them, all my crashes and all my failures, all my successes and improvements, and all my observations along the way. And the progress isn't as good or as far along as I would want it to be, but at the same time, I haven't been putting that much effort into it, so I can't really expect too much. But that's what I wanted to share with you guys in this video today. Just, you know, the progress of the journey that is my FPV learning, and specifically with the DJI FPV drone. So for my first outing since the very first video that I made about the FPV experience, I went out to a large field, a bunch of soccer and rugby fields, you know, large open spaces, the kind that I should have been at the very first time that I was flying, right? Nice and safe, nice and open, nice and big. No real chances for me to knock into very much. I was there with my friends Gareth and Rob, both really experienced FPV flyers, and it was really great to pick their brains and get their guidance on some good practices and, you know, some good tips and tricks to get into FPV. It was also good to have them there as like a little bit of a safety blanket for me if I had any questions, or, you know, if I screwed things up too bad, which I actually did end up doing. My first crash was totally my fault, and I was getting just a little bit cocky. I was flying really low to the ground, and I guess I just clipped the ground a little bit too hard. I'm not actually too sure what happened there based on the video, but you know, it wasn't too hard of a crash, and the drone survived really well. And then the rest of the day for that particular outing was just really smooth and easy, and, you know, it was really good to just ease myself back into the FPV experience. So the second outing was super fun when it came to the whole flying side of things.
All right, battery 1. A little bit of practice.
It was a park, but it was a park with a whole bunch of trees and a lot of variance in the terrain. There was a lot of wide open spaces, but there were also really tight, narrow corridors. There were also a whole bunch of different trees, and we were making obstacles out of them. And it was super fun just trying to like maneuver around the trees and, you know, test my skills for low speed flying. And here I had 2 crashes. First one was because I was just going a little bit too fast, because I was getting a little bit too comfortable and a little bit too cocky.
You! Oh, there we go. A little bit too excited there. Yeah. I was trying to get like too fast, bro. I was trying to get too fast because I'd done it before. I was like, oh, we'll give it a go. Crashed.
I'd done this course a couple of times, and then I thought I'd go a little bit faster. Ended up hitting a branch, and then the branch obviously set the drone off, and it went tumbling into an adjacent tree, hit the trunk of that, and then came down.
Not too bad. Not a lot of damage. The battery fell out, but this one prop here is bent, but it's okay.
And then the second crash was a silly one.
Crashed again. For the third time this drone has crashed. But this one was just me trying to skim the ground, and I think it's okay. It's just really dirty. Yeah, it's just full of grass, look at that, oh my god. But you're alright mate. Brush it off. No problem.
But overall, this flight in general was really great because I got a lot of experience with flying low and slow, which I personally feel is where the skill actually lies, right? I learned a lot about like spatial awareness and the size of the drone in 3D space. And I started to get a really good feel for like how the weight of the drone affects the way that it turns and how it moves through the different types of turns you can do, you know, whether that's like a really slow, like kind of banked turn, or if it's like a really hard hairpin turn. You know, throwing the weight around left and right and all that kind of stuff, I got a really good feel for that. And by the end of the day, I was flying between the trees really easily, both fast and slow. And although I wasn't really smooth by any means, I was definitely in control most of the time. So it was a really good experience for me that particular occasion. And for the third outing, the most recent outing, we went cliffside. And honestly, I was kind of scared. I was a little bit fearful, and I'm still a little bit scarred from my first flight, my first windy as cliffside flight. But I wanted to push through the fear, and so my first battery was just, you know, easing into it, just trying to get my feel again, and trying to get back into the feel of flying FPV. And it was all going really well until it wasn't.
Uh-oh. I think I actually crashed. I think I crashed at the ravine.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. You went out of line of sight.
Yeah, I went out of line of sight. Uh-oh. Crashed again. For the third time out of 3 outings. You know, it's the things you do. Gotta push the edge. But maybe I'm pushing it a little bit too much, I think. Maybe. Probably. Yeah. Definitely. We're gonna go to the place where I crashed. I think it's okay. I'm pretty sure it's okay. I think I just like hit some tall grass or something like that, and then it just spun out of control. So I got signal again, and I can see that it's in the bushes somewhere. Okay, here we go. So I'm going swooping down the cliffs, turning left into the ravine, coming up into the ravine, and then it's there.
Cool.
I think it's here. It's like right here.
I'm looking up how to see.
Hello?
It could have like... Yeah! Oh shit, how do I get there? Oh my god.
Alright, I got it! Yeah! Yeah! So for the second time in 2 weeks, it's absolutely just trashed.
Grass,
Lawnmower drone. It's all good though, we found it.
So with this crash, I didn't actually make like an input mistake. It wasn't like a mistake that I made through the controller. What happened was when I was flying through the ravine, it actually cut out reception, and then it went to a stopping mode, and you know, all of the pace and the acceleration just died. And so because it lost reception and because it lost acceleration as well, instead of coming up and over the ravine and over the bushes where it was supposed to come up, it just went straight into the bushes. And the lesson that I learned here is that line of sight is really, really important. It's super, super important, especially with these DJI FPV drones, because you get little to no warning before the signal cuts out. And when it cuts out, all of your speed just stops immediately. And then, you know, it tries to return to home after that, as opposed to more traditional FPV drones where the video signal will become pixelated and crumbly well before the radio signal of your actual controller, you know, breaks off. And so you know, normal FPV, you have that early warning signal, but for these DJI FPV drones, you don't have as much of that early warning signal. And so that's the main lesson that I learned from this particular flight. Line of sight is super, super important. But yeah, the rest of the day was great. We were flying around the cliffs more, we were getting some really great footage, we were just hanging out and having a great time. I was hitting gaps and getting really close to the cliffs and the waves and stuff like that. And I think the next things that I want to work on are getting even closer to things. I'm starting to get a really good feel for where the drone lives in 3D space and how close I can get to things. So I want to get even better at that. And then I also want to try and focus on more like cinematic video and trying to smoothen out the lines and make the turns a little bit less jerky so that I can start to use the footage in videos in the future as well. But yeah, it's been fun so far. Considering the amount of hours that I've put into it, I'm actually really enjoying myself. But the road is very long. I've got a long way to go until I get to the point where I'm, you know, comfortable with FPV just in general, and I can start using that footage in videos in the future, and, you know, flying around into bending the FPV into my will and my imagination. But I'll keep continuing to share that journey and document the process along the way. All right, I hope you enjoyed the scenes from this video, and I hope that you liked it just in general. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and all that good stuff. If you want to join the community, check me out on Instagram, on Discord, and on Patreon. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, get out there and make something that matters. Peace.